Despite being Whittaker, Adesanya still hasn't quite reached GOAT level, it seems. He's found himself in the same boat as Silva. Let's get into the details of the issues Adesanya's going through and other UFC news making rounds. Adesanya finds himself facing the same issues as Silva. Despite Israel Adesanya being one of the most dominant champs in the MMA world today, not everyone has been celebrating his wins. The champion's third fight against Robert Whittaker was his third win in a row, despite being a close decision. It has become his rise to fame. Adesanya has acknowledged that his fame is coming at a price. People are finding the fights boring like they were with Anderson Silva's fights during a win streak. Not only are people getting bored, but the fighter himself is beginning to feel bored during his fights as he doesn't feel challenged enough. He feels like recency bias is at fault here, but he still had fun during his fights. However, his fight with Vettori bored him immensely because he didn't see him as a threat. This could become a problem for him because if he stops having fun, then he'll start slacking. In his fight with Rob, he simply couldn't afford to get bored or else Whittaker would destroy him. Ranked at number 2 as a pound-for-pound fighter in MMA fighting, the fighter hasn't been challenged in a meaningful way. Prior to his fight with Whittaker, Adesanya's fight with Vettori lacked memorable moments, even if he managed to outclass Vettori regardless of the boredom. The same cannot be said for his fight with Whittaker. It was a slow start, and Whittaker came on super strong. He proved to be Adesanya's most intense challenger to date. He seemed to be faring much better than his knockout loss at the hands of Adesanya 3 years ago. Whittaker and some people in the MMA community left UFC 271 with the assumption that Whittaker had won. Even Whittaker himself was under the impression that he had it in the bag. Adesanya firmly disagrees with this notion. With that being said, if Robert Whittaker did better in the rematch than he did at UFC 243, Adesanya would still dismiss the idea of Whittaker winning. Adesanya reiterated the fact that he hopes to return once again in the summer, June or July likely. He plans on staying at 185 pounds, even if his future goals still stay at 205 pounds. Adesanya wants to stay busy as a champ, even though he has only competed twice in the past 2 years. This means he'll have to be quick to jump at the opportunity to be picked when UFC starts sorting out the rest of its 2022 schedule. He believes he can do 3 to 4 fights realistically. As for opponents, the top 2 middleweights that are in the position to fight for the belt are Cannonier and Strickland, but according to Adesanya, Cannonier is the man fit to be his foe. Bisping doesn't believe Adesanya is GOAT level yet, like Silva is. Adesanya defended his middleweight title successfully this past weekend, which was his 4th title defense. This win put Adesanya to become the sole possessor of the second most middleweight title defenses, literally only behind Anderson Silva. Second best isn't good enough, given Adesanya's dominance over the rest of the division. People have already begun their arguments about whether or not he has surpassed Silva as the greatest middleweight to ever step foot in the cage. For MMA legend, UFC Hall of Famer and former champ Michael Bisping, this statement is flat out false. Bisping spent his career fighting alongside Silva, and he says there's no disputing who the GOAT is when it comes to the middleweight division. The numbers Bisping stated in his YouTube video breaking down this dispute make a compelling case for his argument. Although Silva was primarily a striker, he still has 2 submissions under his belt and was a better finisher than Adesanya is. The primary argument against Bisping's is that when Adesanya and Silva fought, Adesanya got his hand raised, which proved his superiority. However, Bisping felt compelled to continuously shoot this argument down because according to him, Silva is still the GOAT, at least for now. Khabib tells Ngannou to stay with UFC. Ngannou won the heavyweight title after he beat Cyril Gane in the main event of UFC 270, proving his standing as the best heavyweight in MMA. He has been extremely vocal about his frustrations with his current contract, and he claims to have declined several extension offers. Francis Ngannou claims that in addition to more money, he wants more independence to pursue opportunities outside of UFC. He's expressed his interest in a boxing return, wanting to take on reigning heavyweight champ Tyson Fury. UFC's former lightweight champ Khabib Nurmagomedov recently gave his opinion of the whole situation. Khabib retired in 2020 on his own terms. While speaking to Sky Sports, he said he understands why Ngannou would want out of UFC for a chance to face Fury. However, he doesn't see Ngannou having much success with this. He continued to say that Ngannou would be risking his legacy if he leaves MMA's biggest platform. If he wants to make history, he has to stay. Perry clarifies why he turned down Jake Paul's sparring offer. While he was at the BKFC event, he was approached by Jake Paul's team to come to Puerto Rico to spar. He was going to accept, however his managers, who are the same as Woodley's, advised against it. He was going to get $2,500 for it, whereas his managers believed he should be getting $25,000, all things considered. The real deal ender was when Perry asked for 2 tickets and Paul's team said they can't get tickets for him. It became obvious to him that Paul didn't want to spar him, he just wanted to take advantage of Perry coming right off a fight so he could beat on him. The fighters have sparred each other before in the past, leading to a social media back and forth. Perry says that if Paul is still looking for another opponent after the BKFC event, he would be more than happy to put an end to the sparring speculation at any time at all. Walker is promising to reach another level for Hill fight. Walker will be meeting Hill in a pivotal heavyweight showdown at UFC Apex in Vegas, and he'll be looking to take full advantage of his makeshift main event bid. The two were scheduled for co-main event action, but now they'll be headlining because of visa issues being faced by Dos Anjos and Fiziev. Now they will have 5 instead of 3 rounds. The 29-year-old wasn't sure when he would be back at a main event after the loss he faced in his recent matchup against Santos at UFC 38. This was his first time headlining under UFC, and so he's excited to come back for a 5-round bout. Shab doesn't see how Usman can beat Chimov. Shab is seemingly on board the Chimov hype train, claiming that nobody has the skill set to beat the number 11 ranked welterweight. Since his UFC debut in 2020, Chimov hasn't been tested against a top-ranked fighter, and Shab is convinced Boers can steamroll over everyone in his path. In his podcast, he went on to say that nobody wants to fight Khamzat because they know he is undeniably scary to fight. He trains a ridiculous amount, and even Usman won't want to go up against him, even if he has stated his interest in going up against Chimov. However, the Chechenian has remained undefeated in his welterweight division. He's teasing to go up against Burns at UFC 273 on April 9th, but the matchup is yet to be confirmed. Burns is waiting for his 5-round fight request to be accepted by UFC. Rockhold believes Strickland held back in Hermansson fight. Rockhold believes Strickland played it safe against Hermansson. Strickland snagged his 6th win in a row when he won against Hermansson, after which he emerged as the top middleweight contender. Rockhold was initially scheduled to fight Strickland last November, but he was put out due to an unforeseen injury, causing Hermansson to step in for him. He thinks Strickland could have attacked Hermansson with a greater sense of urgency. Referring to a video Strickland posted, Rockhold said it would be on site if they ran into each other. He went on to say that he has absolutely no respect for the man, and he doesn't believe that anybody really does. According to Rockhold, he fights with stupidity, and that may even benefit him to a certain extent. He went on to say that Strickland's effectiveness rested on the shoulders of his inability to think. There's a lack of a proper thought process when it comes to his fighting strategies. He also insinuated that this is due to the fact that Strickland has pumped himself so full of drugs that he has lost brain functioning capacity. Regardless of his opinions, the fact of the matter is that Strickland beat Hermansson. Moreover, Rockhold was initially meant to fight Strickland, which means the man holds some notable skills after all. And that's all we have for you today, folks, but we'll be back with more interesting videos. So keep your eyes peeled to stay informed about the sports industry and keep watching our videos. Tell us what you think about Adesanya's struggles by sounding off in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.